Hi, not too prepared to do this video, but I have a little spare time, and I'm feeling a little lucid, so I had a few beers, and, um, the first thing I just wanna, this is really, has nothing to do with the rest of the video, but, I've just been thinking a lot lately about an article I read, about mushrooms and shamanism in Greece or something. I think I'd read it in 2011. I just remember one picture of these two women shamans, and they're doing these psilocybin mushrooms, and one of them is dying, and the picture just represents returning, or just, I don't know, it was an interesting picture. I don't remember the article, but, if you can think of it, just like, you can imagine Greek shaman women, like, doing mushrooms, and one of them's dying, and sort of melting into a tree. It's an interesting picture. But I wanted to talk about interjections. I've had so much trouble with interjections, and they've been kind of externalized, and the thought that I'm projecting all of this through my own synchronicities, through my own willpower. I'm projecting these interjections on the people around me to sabotage me. I now had done a video on gang stalking, which has its place, but doing a lot of introspection, I'm thinking, and some help from the gods and goddesses, of course, because I've been really overwhelmed by myself and everything. But for me, dealing with interjections, I've been guided, and I've actually found a lot of help in looking at them as the inner sabateur. And I will post the link below to the article I use on the 4 survival archetypes. With the inner sabateur is one of them. And I think this is probably something that a lot of people go through, whether we're talking about abusive relationships or trauma. In a really meaningful relationship, we build a model of ourselves that is the other person's view of us. And I've kind of got this sneaky kind of model of myself, this interjection ego or inner saboteur. And for those who don't know what interjections are, or that they may or may not be having them, I think we all have them, but it's kind of like you imagine a mom with a baby, and she's really stressed out and everything, and things aren't going good at home, and she just has this flash of, I'll stab my baby through the heart with a pencil. Like, it's not anything she wants, it's an interjection, it's something that's popping up in the mind that is troublesome. So I've been out of an abusive relationship for a long time, and I'm having some of the same things that other people who have been in these relationships are going through, and I've talked with them about it. For example, if I want to meditate, I was severely persecuted, threatened, coerced because of my beliefs. So believing in things like mind-body health and meditating, or witchcraft, or the power of belief, believing that in my gender identity, severely persecuted. And I think a lot of people in relationships, when it comes to abuse, just to come out and say it, narcissistic abuse, they're going to try to undermine whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you feel good about yourself. And if this is happening for the course of years, you can be like me or some friends of mine, where you go down to I'm going to write in my journal because that's therapeutic, and you have an allergy attack. Or you start getting heart races, or you start getting a stomach ache, or IBS, or something because you're going to sit down and meditate, or because you're going to set up a OkCupid account or whatever, and you start having dizzy spells. And this is, not to mention interjections of like curse words popping into your head, or ugly scenarios when you want to do something productive. And I know how I talked on my gang stalking just to mention that, what is pushing against you, and that's actually where you need to push forward. But I've been guided, especially by Goddess Durga, who I've been turning to a lot lately. Um, and to think of it more of um, inner saboteur. So and I'm not by any means well read on this subject. Still struggling with my issues, managing to live my life the best I can. But the inner saboteur is that person who makes sure that you're safe, another alter ego, or makes sure you're safe, protective, but shielding and protective and emotional armoring in not helpful ways, usually, especially after something like severe abuse and mental abuse and gaslighting, where your inner saboteur is going to be way overreactive. And for example, for me, I've had my beliefs put on trial. More or less, we're going to take your kids away because you're transgender, or we're going to take your kids away because um, you have beliefs that are not Christian or atheists, so you don't deserve to have kids, you're going to damage them. Um, and the child I do have is doing wonderful. She is amazing, top of her class, and everything like that. But that's really hurtful, and I've actually had one of my kids taken away. And I've been told you you can let your freak flag fly, but you have gender identity disorder, mental illness, and you're a pagan. So, for a political statement, you're really coming into this courtroom with all these strikes against you, and it's like I was sold out by my intimate other, and I wouldn't bring my personal beliefs to court. I would just bring the fact that I'm a great mom, but whatever. But those things became like really triggers and hot buttons for me, and the interjections for those of us who go through them when you're trying to push forward, and it may be inside you, it may even be outside you, that you're getting your triggers, your buttons pressed. So if you are in control of your reality, you're your own god or goddess. You're making this happen. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you don't have to believe that, but if you want to do like a thought experiment with me here, then, another self-fulfilling prophecy is, you might say your affirmations that everybody likes me, and you walk around, your body language expresses that, and everyone likes you. So if your inner saboteur is, sorry, this was, a little tough for me, but if your inner saboteur is affecting the world in a negative way, if you take responsibility for that, you gotta say that, there's a saying in magic that you take the universe as is and work on it from there. Um, so if you're the goddess, god of your own reality, you gotta take yourself as is and work on yourself from there. And that's not a bad thing. That's what you're doing anyway. That's what we're all doing anyway. So what was I even saying? Um, anyway, this article is really helpful. Um, and I just want to get to some of the points of it, to ask yourself some of the questions that this person listed for your inner saboteur, which would be, I don't want to give too much of a spoiler, but one of the ones that was really meaningful for me was, okay, do I often let others speak for me? And I do really do that, and I do that because I'm afraid of weirding people out. I'm afraid of being like having this imposter syndrome that if I say or act this way, I'm not really female, so I'm an imposter. Um, it's just not the thought I want to entertain. So, I would also let people speak for me. If I was going to say something really weird, I would just keep my mouth shut, and then usually someone else is going to say it for me. Um, and it seems better if someone else says it for me. It seems better if another female says it for me, because they have biologically all the parts to be a female, so they have every right to say it. So it got to be kind of a trap. Um, so with interjections, asking these questions, and I also watched and participated in a video on emotional freedom technique, where you're talking to your inner saboteur, and tapping your face. And I would put that link in the description too. Has been really helpful. Um, and I had done it over the fall, I think, just treating my interjections as a saboteur. And I think I sabotaged myself with that and started going off on more and more tangents and not sticking to the story. I mean, that sounds wrong. Not sticking to the story. Not keeping it really simple, because why make it more complicated? I don't know if I want to. Okay, this is basically what I was talking about, so I might as well bring this one question up. Have you asked your inner saboteur? Have you agreed to something because out of fear? And that's one of the things I've really had an issue with, agreeing to things in family court situations and mental health situations out of fear for looking crazy. And in lots of, well, at least 4 or 5 other areas of life, agreeing to things out of social fear or fear of punishment or coercion. And that's um, kind of like a mental rape, really. Or if you want to call it brainwashing or what. Having to agree in court that, oh, yeah, I don't really believe I'm my children's mom. I don't really believe that, um, you know, um, that conspiracies are real, or, you know, and it would be one thing to say that offhand, um, you know, okay, I'm in a conversation and I'm just talking to someone and there's nothing at stake. But when you have, your children, and that's where your heart is. So, you're going to agree with something out of that kind of state of fear, and it's going to impact you. And I think people, besides the screwed up family court system, people in abusive relationships agree to things out of fear because their abusers are manipulating them. They're finding their weak spots. My abuser would know that my weak spot was um being seen as a pig, or being seen as a fool, or looking stupid. So that was the things my abusers really tremendously um kept adding insult after insult after insult, and slipping me this lifeline of, well, if you agree that none of it's true, then you're good. You're one of us. Um, it's tough, and I know this is not just me. Thanks to like social media, I know there's a lot of this going on. Um, and as far as narcissism goes, I would just like to end this on one thing. That having self love is not the bad thing. You loving yourself is not at the expense of anyone else. And if you're this empathic person who's bright and sunshiny and you love yourself and you're so into yourself and taking care of yourself, that is, and if it's not at the expense of anyone else, um, you don't have to get in that trap of am I the narcissist? And it's tough for me to even admit that I love myself nowadays, but it's not at the expense of anyone else. If someone makes it at their expense, that's on them. I'm going to love myself and approve of myself, and I know what I know, so you know, you can be part of that love, or you can tell me what a awful person I am, but I'm gonna love myself either way. Yes, so it's a bit kind of a ramble. I don't think I got to the points I wanted to, but I definitely want to recommend the two links I'm going to put in the description, and have a wonderful evening. Blessed be.